This morning has been that decision taken by the UK government that Jersey companies will no longer be able to sell low-value goods to UK customers VAT-free. The so-called loophole has been filled in the UK Chancellor, taking with it an estimated 1,700 jobs across the Channel Islands. Now, Richard Allen set up Retailers Against VAT avoidance schemes after his online music shop in the UK struggled to compete with imports and has long campaigned for the tax relief for companies based outside the UK to be ended. He joins me on the line now. Good morning, Mr. Allen. You must be feeling victorious this morning.
I think victorious isn't the right word, because obviously we fully understand that this has an impact on some businesses. We're happy that this has been corrected, because people have been suffering from this for a long time in the UK, and I think it's a good thing that there's a level playing field now.
Give us your experience of how damaging to your business this tax relief has been.
Well, I feel I can compare it to a game of football where one team's got one leg tied behind their back. If you've got a disadvantage, then you really aren't able to compete properly. So it's created a huge market distortion in particular sectors. The organisation that I'm involved with, plus I'd just like to mention that the form of private business and the Federation of Small Businesses in the UK all campaigned against this issue. It's had a very bad impact in the UK because certain sectors have just become impossible to compete at all online. And
why do you think this so-called loophole was allowed in the first place?
Well, from what we can see, it was an error in the application when it first came in, because low-value consignment relief came in 1983, and at that time the Channel Islands had a prepaid VAT scheme anyway, so up to that point VAT was being prepaid on all packages sent to the UK, but for some reason it was implemented to the Channel Islands when it wasn't actually needed, because the purpose of the relief is to relieve the collection of VAT on small packages, but actually there was no collection that required relieving at that point.
Now, this relief may be ending in the Channel Islands from the 1st of April, but, there might be a feeling here that the Channel Islands are being picked on because they're little and it's easy to boss over them. There's other relief there's other places, including America, isn't there, where cheap imports come in?
Imports come into the UK, but it was the volumes that were the problem. Customs is a case of deterring people from doing things on a big scale. And the scale of this from the Channel Islands unfortunately just got out of control, particularly when large corporate companies started to take advantage of it. I can recall there was Christmas television advertising for offshore VAT-free companies. It was beyond, acceptable, and I think it was. I'd like to think that we changed this, but I don't think that's realistic. We're not that powerful. It just got out of control, and the government had to do something in the end, because I know the volume of letters that MPs were getting in the UK on this was huge, and if you saw the announcement in the House in the budget, George Osborne got a cheer from MPs, and that's because this issue just became so well known. I think its own popularity killed it.
Now, your organisation is called Retailers Against VAT Avoidance Schemes, plural. Does that mean your campaign carries on?
Yeah, anything. If any attempt to do anything like this to undermine VAT has to be dealt with, because VAT is a tax that all businesses in the UK have to pay, and if you don't pay it, you'll go to prison. But just to give you some idea of what we originally said to the Treasury in the UK, we said, look, you've got two options: scrap VAT in the UK, or even the playing field on this. Of course, they laughed at the first suggestion, so they did this. But we're not a pro-VAT organisation. We just want, if we have to pay it, we don't want to be competing with people that are not in the UK.
And finally, I know you didn't make this decision, but you've campaigned for it. So, Richard Allen, this morning, what's your message to the 1,700 or so people whose jobs are at stake today around the Channel Islands?
Well, obviously, it's not my place to get involved in that kind of thing, but we're certainly not in trying to put anyone out of a job. The only thing I would say is that this tax relief was never under the control of the Channel Islands, and if a business is profitable without a tax break, there's no reason why it shouldn't continue.
Richard Allen, thank you very much indeed for your comments this morning. He's from Retailers Against VAT Avoidance Schemes. And after 8, we'll be speaking to Jersey Post, who may be much affected by this decision, and the Treasury Minister, all about what the changes will mean also